Hey, good morning, folks. I'm attorney Roger P. Foley, and it's been a while. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about hiring your criminal defense attorney. I recently had a person contact my office, and their case was older, and they had the public defender, and I have nothing against the public defender. I've complimented them in the past. I've talked about the negative downfalls of having the public defender. There's pluses and minuses with every attorney. But the case involved drugs and alcohol. It involved allegations that the client has since helped himself with a little bit. And when I was speaking, with the person, they said, well, I was told that the PD would do just fine. And I said, well, how has it worked out for you? And again, I'm not knocking the PD, but depending on what you're doing, there's got to be a plan, right? And in this case, for me at least, I thought that the plan should have several steps. I thought it should have some treatment. I thought it should have some anger management. I thought it should have some other aspects that could potentially sway a prosecutor, a victim, a judge, that could help the person overall. Like, listen, not every case you can get out of, right? I mean, that's just a reality, folks. You don't go out there and commit crimes and then think like, hey, I just hire a wonderful defense attorney and they'll just make everything go away, because that's BS. And any defense attorney that tells you different, they're full of you know what. So it's important that there be some strategy. Sometimes when you look at a probable cause affidavit, right, a police report, I do it during my paid consultations. I look at your police report and I set out a plan. And then I go, well, if that plan wasn't to work, this would be my fallback, and this is how I would attack your case. I can figure that out in 30 minutes. So it's not a, like, let's wait and see, because I'll hear defense attorneys saying like, yeah, well, we'll wait and see, and we got to see what the prosecutor says and what the judge says. I'm like, what the judge says? Like, the judge has nothing to do with it. The judge comes in and basically pushes the case, right? Until you get to a perspective, if it's a motion or a trial, right? Then the judge can, well, even in a trial, I mean, the judge makes a decision on the motion, but not on a trial. I mean, there's certain rulings and objections that could not go your way. So again, I'm not minimizing the judge, but the judge's role, respectfully, is to push the case. Hey, we're set for a status. What's going on, Mr. Foley? Is this a plea? Is this a trial? Is this a motion? What are you doing? Let's get going. If it's a plea, on a driving while license suspended charge, why has the case been delayed for a year? Like, seriously, right? So, and I get that, and I understand that there's certain defense attorneys that have that philosophy, like, hey, the witness may disappear, forget, die. I get that, like, and sometimes that becomes very important depending on the type of case it is. But the reality is there's not that much to remember on a driving while license suspended case. So, but I think that it's important to plan. And I was talking to this person, and they drive a nice car, they own a home, they have a business. I'm like, how do you get with the public defender if you own your home, you got a job, you got a great business? Like, I don't, and in my mind I just go, ugh, right? Because some people are they just want to get everything for free, but there's nothing in life really for, what's free? Your air, your relationships with your family and friends, like that those are the free things, and they're beautiful things. But when it comes to having to accomplish something in specific. So when it comes to accomplishing something specific, especially in terms of like a criminal case, honestly, it's important to interview 3 to 5 attorneys and say, well, what would your plan be? And when the guy goes, yeah, I got to get the discovery and I got to see everything it says. And look, sure, that's true. But assuming that the discovery says basically what the police report says and there's no other findings, how would you approach the case? And I'm coming up, and this happens a lot lately. I mean, in the last couple of months, I can't tell you how many cases I've taken over and how many cases I said, hey, buddy, your trial's like in a week. Like, I can't take a case over and be expected to prepare it, in a week on a first-degree felony or a second-degree felony case. I just can't do that. I got to do my due diligence. I got to dot I's, cross T's, make sure that I am representing someone to the best of my ability, and I can't rely on someone else. And I'll ask clients, like, why do you want to change? And there's no communication. I don't, my God, there was a guy, was it last week? And he's set for trial, and I'm like, well, what's your strategy in trial? Like, what did you discuss with your client? Like, what's your theme of the case? And folks, they have no idea. And I tell everybody this. I go, man, I've never been a genius in the courtroom. Stop. Like, don't think that your attorney is a genius, right? Have conversations, right? Like, I'm no better than anybody else, right? Your attorney is not better than you. He just has knowledge in that particular area. And if you do something different, you have more knowledge in the area of your profession. So don't just rely on a magic show, right? Like, if someone's doing, I don't know, installing a pool, right? I can listen to it. If a guy's putting in a driveway, my neighbor's having a driveway done, like, I can look at it. I can see, oh, this is how they frame it. Oh, this is the rebar. Hey, why do you do that? Why is that piece there? Oh, that's drainage. Oh, okay, that makes sense. That would go, right? And you can learn. Now, don't beat up your attorney with like a 6-hour lecture of how to, every case. What I do is I just give my clients the case law. I go, hey, if you want to read it, you have it. You want my motion, you have it. It's funny. I recently had a case that was a domestic, and the client said, I need to see all of your written communications between you and the state attorney. And I kind of giggled, but I was like, you know what? Maybe that's something that I would ask. Like, I'd want to know, what are you saying? Are you saying to me what you're saying? So I said to the client, I go, look, I don't really do that, but just because you're asking, I'll just do it for you. But I'm not trying to start a trend here. If every client asked for every communication, I'd lose my mind. And I'd quadruple my prices, right? Because the more hand-holding that you need, right? I'm here as an attorney and other criminal defense attorneys. We're here to battle the case, meaning to find out, are there any loopholes? Are there any diversions? Is there a theme or theory that you can present at trial that may be convincing? That's what we're here to do. When you want to talk about how it affects, your mother-in-law and your brother, and you live with folks, and hey, listen, like, that's what the psychologists and psychiatrists are for, right? And your counselors. It's funny, my old boss, Mike Jones, I'd go, why does it say counsel law? He goes, brother, because every client's like a psychiatric counseling session. And I think I used to have that on my counselor at law, but it's specific to the law. It's not specific, it's, you want to make clients feel that you care. And I don't know, I don't want to convince anyone that I care. I just do care, right? Tell me what it's going on, but people tell me how it's going to affect their job. Like, yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. I know it's going to affect your job. I know that it's going to affect visitation with your children. I know that it may, depending on the case, it may affect a number of things. I'm already aware of that. Yeah, but my case is specific. I get it. You could lose your job. You work for FedEx. You have customers that may look up your name. Oh, what's the number one thing that a defense attorney needs to focus on? Keeping you from being incarcerated, right? I think, like, isn't that the number one thing? It's not when you'll get your gun back. It's not when you will get your car back. It's not when you'll be able to see your kids. Like those are all number one thing, right? Like number one thing. Well, it depends on the person. Number one thing is either incarceration or conviction. And sometimes people may think that this is crazy, but sometimes being incarcerated, if you get a withhold, is better than being on probation and getting a conviction. Because once you have a conviction, it makes life very difficult. Nothing is sealable, expungible, and anyone who does any background check is going to find it. But really, right? Am I going to be convicted of the crime? Because a bunch of things come with that. Or am I going to be incarcerated? That's the two things that a criminal defense attorney should be focusing on with you. I get back like, hey, I think they took my license. Go on DMV and order another one. They're $20, right? You can't do it if it's a DUI. But other cases, like if your ID is lost during the processing, or a credit card, like get on the phone and call your credit card company. Go, hey, I lost my credit card. You'll get another one in the mail. You ask them to expedite it, like 2-3 days. When can I see my kid? I go, listen, like, respectfully, the judge is going to say, like, if I make that our judge, he needs to see his kid, and it has to do with domestic or child abuse or something, like, the judge is going to look at me like I got, 16 heads and go, Mr. Foley, like, your client should have thought about that before they drove their 4-year-old to, preschool, blowing a 2.5. Or they should have thought about that before before they left drugs around because of their addiction and their child ended up in the ER, unresponsive. Or before they were in the accident, right? Like, you got to focus on the two most important things. Keep the client out of jail or prison, right, for being incarcerated, and do everything you can to keep them from being convicted or from pleading to something that will stay on their record for life, like a domestic violence or a DUI, or a child abuse case. Excuse me. Thank you. I know everyone on this video went, God bless you, Gesundheit. So thank you. So, and you ever meet a person and in the first 5 minutes you're like, oh, they seem like a cool person. But then maybe, I don't know, you see him a second time, or you have lunch or whatever, and you go, a couple of things, there were a couple warning flags. It's the same thing with an attorney. If your attorney is like gung-ho on the first episode, your first meeting with them, your consultation, and then he or she switches their momentum, like now they're too busy. The first day it was like, oh, come on in, I can see you now. Hey, well, I'm always available for my clients. And then you call them like 2 days later and go, hey, I just wanted to make sure you had this. And they don't respond, and they don't email you back, and you don't get the discovery, and they don't talk about what they're going to do. I mean, I literally at the first consult, right? It's a paid consult, don't get me wrong, right? But I say, this is what I'm going to do, and these are the time frames to expect. So I want you to touch base with me every 2 weeks. Keep me on my toes. Every time there's a court date, 3 to 5 business days before, guess what? You're going to call me. Wait, you're not going to call me? Sir, ma'am, you're going to call me 3 to 5 business days. You know why? Because then I'm going to check my emails. I'm going to check the statuses of things that I did, and I'm going to give you updates. And it works out like that. And I hear all these people who are firing their attorney or attorneys because of the communication, and they don't know what's going on, and they haven't reviewed their videos or their discovery or the 911 tape or the CAD, or a private investigator hasn't been hired. Guys, if it doesn't happen instantly, it ain't happening. Like, I don't wait 6 months to hire an investigator if I need an investigator, and I don't use an investigator that often, but when I do, it's instantaneous. Like, it's the same day. Like, I'm on the phone with Valerie, Rivera, going, hey Val, I need you to check this out. I got the client here. Okay, how much do I need to send you? And I get it started instantly, because time is of the essence. You need to find certain pieces of evidence or things that can help your client. So if you're going, well, he hasn't done that, or she hasn't done that. I don't know, other defense attorneys that watch this, do you guys make notes like, I would need this, I would need this, I would need this? I make lists and I go, let's go get it. And we go get it. The only delay usually is getting it from like law enforcement, because they don't rush to get you the evidence that'll help your client. So, but I want to see, if I'm a client, I want to see that my attorney sent letters, that they've sent emails, that the requests are in, that there's confirmations of requests for audio, video, CAD, etc. So, but I just find it crazy, like so many people calling my office. Well, hey, I just had a plea conference today, Mr. Foley, and or change of plea, and I told the judge I wasn't taking the plea. Okay, what's your strategy on your case? Like, what do you? Yeah, I don't know. My client, I just can't do that. Well, you got to weigh out the factors, don't you? And this is a conversation for, attorneys and clients and their family to sit together and have the conversation about what you're going to do. What can you do? What's realistic? Not blow smoke. So, folks, pay more attention. It's like anything in life, right? If you delay your homework and you're trying to do it at, you started at midnight the day before the test, you're probably not going to do so well. If you go out and hire a private attorney the day after your arrest, the day you get out of jail, like, right, for your first appearance, and you discuss with he or she, like, what can you do? What cases have you had similar to this, right? What's your experience? Tell me how many cases you plead, how many cases are motions, how many cases are trials. What do you think you're good at, Mr. Defense Attorney or Mrs. Defense Attorney? What are your strengths? Tell me your weaknesses. Like, what? You're hiring someone to protect your life, right? If I'm hiring a bodyguard, to keep the cartel away from me, don't I want to make, like, what do I just look the guy up and down and go, you'll do? Like, no. I want to know firearms training, right? I want to know military background, police background. I want to know proficiency with firearms. Don't be scared to ask, folks. Don't be scared to ask. Choose wisely. Please don't call me at the last minute. You know how hard it is to do that? Don't call me at the last minute. Call me at the beginning, so you have the full. I got the full time to train, right? I got a full training camp to get it done. So anyway, I'm Attorney Roger P. Foley. I hope this helps you. I'm on my way to the office. See ya, and God bless. Bye now.